mental health. That's the number one priority. And if I'm energetically depleted because I have not said no, because I've divided myself from, I've said yes to something that I really wanted to say no to, and I'm in that self-division or self-abandonment, my energy goes down. I feel like rubbish. And so I guess my process is constantly focusing on mental health, doing the things that I need to do to manage my energy, and not actually thinking that any type of energetic feeling is wrong. They're all there as messengers.
Inluminance specializes in developing sensory processing sensitivity, a natural high sensory intelligence present in 30% of the population, co-creating with the power of humanity to consciously evolve towards balance. This session features trained high sensory coaches, facilitators and consultants who coach other high sensory people and partner with organizations globally. To contact them directly or to find out about our programs, please see the details in the description.
Hello, everybody. So we're here again with our little tribe, talking about how to navigate as an HSP. So we talk about both being an HSP, but also what we call high sensory intelligent. So we like to call it that and like to see it as a gift. And today we're going to discuss energy levels, because as an HSP, this do change a lot. It can be during the day, it can be during the week, it can be anytime. So we want to share with you about energy levels. How do we kind of do that? Making sure that we have enough energy, and when energy is not there, then what do we do? So I'm Rikke Hartmann Bossen. I live in Denmark. I work globally and in Denmark as an HSP coach and therapist, and also as an executive coach. And I mainly use or work with resourceful women, but also men who are curious and want to be more courageous of how to be you and integrate all that you are. And I also specialize in narcissists and psychopaths, not working with them, but with people who has been with them. But let's introduce the rest of you. Alicia, you want to go?
Yeah, go for it. Hi, everybody. I'm Alicia May. I'm from the UK, and I'm a high sensory coach and creative empath. And I work with HSPs that are ready to just own their truth, own their unique abilities and gifts, and sort of connect with that, or reconnect with that sort of energetic spiritual essence that we have. So that's me.
Amazing. Thank you. Sarah.
Thanks, Rikke. Hi, I'm Sarah Connelly. I'm an HSP coach that specialises in working with addictions, specifically alcohol. I tend to work primarily with very high-performing, high-achieving individuals who've been using alcohol as a crutch to support their lifestyle, but are finding that they've reached a point where it's causing more problems than solutions. And I work with groups and individually, both here in Australia where I live and all over the world.
Thank you. Alex.
Yes, hello. I'm Alexander Hodmann from Germany, from the Black Forest. I'm a life and business coach working with all kinds of people, and especially with high sensory, highly sensitive people and or highly gifted people in German, French, and English. And I work systemically. That is, that I help people bring together all these personality parts that are running in all directions in their life, so that they can really align with themselves and make life something that's something of their own design instead of the sum of the things happening to them.
Amazing. So we're in good hands here. That's nice. So we're going to discuss about energy levels today. And we're going to share some examples, each of us, and also some tips and tricks, because I think it's sometimes we need the tips. So what do we do if it's here and now and I need to work with my energy levels? And also on the longer run, how can we improve? So I think all of us here, and probably the people who are listening, they know about energy levels, the ups and downs, both the overwhelm, but also the high energy. So how do we kind of balance that? How do we work with that? So for me, for instance, I'm actually an extrovert as a preference. So I usually have high energy and a high drive. But as I'm a sensitive, I can also get very much overwhelmed or be exhausted. And because I have this high drive, it's easy for me to just keep going, especially if it's, work where I'm committed to do something, or it might be something interesting I'm doing. So if I don't have breaks that I'm forced to take, I might overdo it a lot. And then I have to pay downtime afterwards. So it's not everybody who are introverted. And I think that perspective, when we talk energy levels, that might change. So for instance, or it might be different. So when I'm teaching, and I love to teach, if it's 5 people or 40 people or whatever, so that when you are highly sensitive, I had 40 people in the room, not yesterday, Wednesday, and they are from all over the world. So there was so much to pay attention to, different cultures, different people. I've never met these people before. So when you are sensitive and you're in this room and you really want people to learn something, you want to give each individual something, you are actually very overwhelmed by your senses, because there's so much to take in. And at the same time, I have to bring the best of me. And my energy is high because I really want to teach these people. So I'm, totally high, and adrenaline is keeping me very awake. And I feel the different people. So I'm trying to come to the whole group, but also to the individual. So that's an example of me where my energy is extremely high. I have a high drive. I'm just fully on. And after a session like that, it's almost like, I know Sarah could talk about this, it's the craving. I have to do something with myself. What do I do? Eat something, go shop. You have this very high energy. I could imagine people who are either gambling or shopping or drinking alcohol, that you want to do something because the adrenaline is so high. So what I do is I have to just calm myself. And I definitely have to eat and drink mainly water, but I need to have a lot on board to lower that beautiful energy, because it's too much for my body. So I have to somehow regulate that. So that's an example from my life, that even though I can be that high, then I need this change to kind of come back to my body. And then afterwards, I'm a bit high for a few hours. And then I really want, okay, could it just be silent around me, please? So let's hear a couple of your cases or comments for this.
I'm happy to dive in. You said so many yummy things there, Rikke. I really resonated with so many things. And being a HSP, extroverted, high sensation seeking empath, for me has always been a real juggle, especially until recent years, because I couldn't understand how some days I'd have this crazy high energy and I'm extroverted, and things I was doing in the moment were energizing me, and then, like you were saying, we just sort of crash and burn. And I definitely had a part in my life where I was sort of working 6-7 days a week, go, and then to sort of calm down, I'd have a drink in the evening to just wind down. Thankfully now I pretty much don't have any substances, and it's more of a listening to my body. And I really like how Elaine Aron talks about this, the gas pedals and the brake pedals, particularly with high sensation seeking. I think it's really, really difficult. But once you've got the balance, we never get to the point where we find this balance for the rest of our lives. Like, it doesn't work like that, because we might have, like you said, the workload could be really intense, or you could be doing something that's really invigorating in the moment, and it's energizing you even more because you're passionate about it. What you're talking about is really passionate. but then you'll crash and burn, and you'll need sort of 2-3 days to just recover. And that's just a constant sort of juggle that we have to do. For the most part, I sort of find an equilibrium, but I've always been prone to being wired and tired. And like you were saying, Rikke, about now it's just a case of actually, I just want to be on my own. I just need some quiet. And that enables me now, after sort of all the sort of training I've done with myself, to sort of be able to switch off a lot quicker. Whereas before it would have taken me days or weeks to unwind. Whereas now it can take sort of minutes or just a couple of hours to just get into my sort of balanced, grounded, okay, yeah, I just need to rest and recover. And, you were saying about what you were talking, it really does energize us. If we're talking about things that we're really passionate about, that makes us feel really, really good inside, this energy just comes from somewhere, doesn't it? That high sensory intelligence just sort of kicks in, and we just feel invigorated and passionate. But that's not to say that come the evening, we'll be feeling pretty pooped and just ready to just chill out and go to bed early and just meditate and just relax or have a bath and that sort of thing. And the reverse is the same, that if we're talking about things, it's really common with HSPs that we like deep, meaningful conversations. And if we're caught up in conversations that are a bit dull, they tend to be quite draining for us. So we have to be careful about sort of almost what conversations we have with who, and then we can sort of feel in our body this sort of lowering of energy. And then you mentioned about food and eating, and I find sort of quite grounded food can really help slow me down and just sort of, again, we know with the chemical, if somebody wants to talk about the chemicals, we're very sensitive to our chemicals. So once I've eaten food, within about 20 minutes, that blood, that adrenaline is just calmed down and it's now in my stomach working its thing. And that really, really helps. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you so much. I'll just let any of you drop in.
Oh, I'm happy to jump in. I think that what strikes me about energy in general and the things that both of you have spoken about are not unique to HSPs. I mean, I think every person struggles with managing their energy, whether they are HSP or not, especially in the world that we live in, which is hectic and frantic and pressure. Where I think it's unique for HSPs, or at least more of an opportunity, is our ability to notice the more subtle shifts in energy. With a lot of my clients that are not HSP, that story that you were sharing, Rikke, in your experience, I mean, if you take it to the extreme, like a rock star, they go on stage, they get that huge adoration, that huge hit, and then they go off stage and take drugs and drink because there's got to be some way of grounding or extending that feeling. And so one of the gifts, let's say gifts, I know Alex is a bit uncomfortable with that word, but one of the gifts of an HSP is once we are awakened to this part of ourselves, we are a lot more open to and able to notice those sometimes very subtle shifts in energy. And how do we manage that? I think for us, for me, let's speak from my perspective, it has become a process of daily present moment awareness and ongoing management of energy, no matter what's going on, and using the emotional energy, because essentially that's what we're talking about. It's about how we feel, whether we feel pain or pleasure, whether we feel relaxed or stressed. It's all about an emotive response to how we're feeling. And being able to make that connection is to be able to ask those intelligent questions. Why am I depleted in this moment? And then making an intelligent, giving an intelligent answer to that, as opposed to, I'm overwhelmed, I can't cope, it's too much. We can be a bit more intelligent in our response to why that's happening if we keep conscious of our ongoing energy. How do I do that? Not always successfully, but it is very much for me about sensation, feeling the physical signs of discomfort, of disturbance in the force, I like to call it. It's like we have this pure energy, we all have pure energy, and then it gets disturbed by things that come. So when we feel that disturbance, is asking then, is this emotional pain? And if so, what is it that I now need in this moment? This has led me to be very conscious about how I live. And I was just talking earlier before we came onto this call that I've designed my life for optimal energy for me. So I love to work really early. I work with people in the US so that by 12 o'clock my day is done. And then I have usually take a nap at about 1 o'clock for 45 minutes. And then I go into mother, cooking, cleaning, laundry. And so it's a very conscious process of managing my energy so that I feel fundamentally that I'm taking care of myself. Number one, mental health. That's the number one priority. And if I'm energetically depleted because I have not said no, because I've divided myself from, I've said yes to something that I really wanted to say no to, and I'm in that self-division or self-abandonment, my energy goes down. I feel like rubbish. And so I guess my process is constantly focusing on mental health, doing the things that I need to do to manage my energy, and not actually thinking that any type of energetic feeling is wrong. They're all there as messengers. I think I'll shut up now.
Yeah. But that's amazing because it's so important, and maybe that's something we should say for another episode, about this daring to feel your body, daring to feel what's going on right now, and paying attention to it and being willing to work with that, just allowing it. But let's see what we have time for today. Okay, Alex.
Yes, so being neither an extrovert nor a high sensation seeker, I'm always cool. No, not true. But I noticed an important difference between my male and female clients, especially we're talking about these subtle signals. And I noticed that women often, they notice these signs of exhaustion or overwhelm throughout the day, and men don't. So, on average. So I think it's perhaps because men are less well connected to their subtle body signals, because many men consider their body rather as an instrument, a machinery that has to serve the mind, not as a form of intelligence. So often they will actually highly function throughout the day, but when they come home, there's going some big rumination. As soon as they release from the pressure, they will have often an uncontrolled rumination going on. They will sit on the couch and things are the day just they're working through the day actually and can't help doing that. And a number of clients complain about that. I think the number one rule for HSP is to take samples throughout the day, to check in, to look at what's my energy level right now. And I think the number one rule is just breaks throughout the day. And I recommend all my clients to really have this energy hygiene throughout the day, to take breaks every 45 to 90 minutes and check in. The second rule is a break with a smartphone is not a break. A break is a break.
Really?
It's a break when you stop focusing on anything. Then it's a break for the brain. And we have these stimuli, especially with high sensory people. We have this pipe of stimuli, of nervous stimuli that gets clogged at some point, and that's when the overwhelm sets in. So we have to let the brain just work all this pipe of stimuli. And for that, you have to give a chance to the so-called default mode network of the brain, which is quite a recent discovery. People thought that when the brain is idle, it just doesn't do anything. But actually, when we daydream, when we look at a landscape, when we don't focus on anything, you can really see very well organized and intense patterns in the brain. And that's when the brain does housekeeping, garbage collection, and really works all the pipe of accumulated stimuli. So you need to give your brain a focus, an unfocused break. Many people come back from work and they feel exhausted and they blame work, but actually work is only part of it. It's often that they just don't take the breaks. They have a minute and they immediately grab their smartphone. That's not a break.
I love that. I do that when I'm teaching. I always show the phone and say, so this is not a break. And I put mine down, and also say it's also an opportunity for networking. I know that's not an unfocused break, but just, getting rid of the screen is something important. I love that you called it energy hygiene and also housekeeping, to have this really to either empty your brain or do something very different in nature or whatever. So I think a lot of this also have to do with our patterns. So how is our work life? What kind of culture are we working in if we are part of a company? So often with customers, I say, well, if you have back-to-back meetings all the time, and the only break you actually have is when you eat lunch with 10 other people. So when do you actually have a break just to stop and reflect? So, allowing what's actually in my head. I think that is something that has been kind of skipped, or we are trying to be very effective, but we know we're not being effective. And again, it's not only HSPs, but maybe people who are having this higher sensory intelligence, that we pick up so many more things. So if we don't do that housekeeping in our head to regulate, then it becomes an overwhelm and even more easy stress, I believe. And I also love something you said, Alex, about men and women. I guess I'm very masculine then, because I have exact the same. I can just keep going. So I have to sometimes even set a timer for myself, that I have to have a break. I have to put it in my calendar. I have to have a lot of structure around it, because I can't stop myself always if I'm, I just can fix this and I can fix this and I can just do that. So I believe we have to look very much into our patterns of, so what kind of drives and so on do I have? So how can I make structures for myself, and how can I communicate that to others? Like, I guess, Sarah, at home, you have to tell your surroundings that I'm not available at this time. And I don't know how it is for you. I'd like to ask you that in a minute, because earlier on, until maybe even 5-7 years ago, I had lots of things in my calendar during the evening. So that might be training, meeting friends, education, board meetings, study groups, whatever. So I could sometimes have, for work week, 4 out of 5 days, I would have something I had to do during the evening. It might be 1 hour, it might be 4 hours. So I didn't feel, you've been working all day, coming home, making dinner, eating, etc., cleaning that, and then on to the next one. So I didn't get that break long enough to feel, whoa, this is way too much for me. And then I didn't understand why Friday night I just dropped dead on the couch. So I guess some of this is fear of missing out, maybe, and some of it is how you're brought up and your patterns. No, I have to do that. I can't let these people down. I have to be active in my community, or I have to. So all these they are exhausting, not only for HSPs, but especially as HSP, it takes longer to do I love your term, Alex, housekeeping or energy hygiene. So give me some examples of how this works for you. What are you paying attention to, and what was kind of maybe a change? When did you realize that you had to work on your energy levels?
Yeah, I would say the same as you, Rikke. And I think once I quit drinking, because I used alcohol for a long time as a fuel, if you like, because it is a fuel, for some of us. And for me, I got lots of energy from alcohol. I wasn't one of those people that had a drink and went, oh, I'm going to fall asleep. And generally people that do have that response to alcohol do not end up having a problem with alcohol. And that's, fully into the genetics and sensitivity to the substance. But when I stopped drinking, I was obviously faced with the reality of my inner workings and my response to overwhelm. And what we tend to do, especially people that have challenges with substance, they'll go into the overs, what we call the overs. Overthinking, overworking, over-criticizing, over committing to others in order to compensate for the fear that is behind that. And overworking, you mentioned fear of missing out, which is a big thing in our society. If I do not answer an email at 9 p.m, what will people think? If I do not respond to this particular thing, if I do not go to this meeting, there's a lot of anxiety attached to these overs, over committing to others, over sharing, over communicating. And where people can get really caught, and I'm trying to kind of tie this in with energy, is that they believe that over part is the fault of the external world. As I have to work this hard, but always it comes back to that inner belief: if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my job, or someone's going to get promoted instead of me. And so the overs become this ongoing drive, and people find it very hard to let go of that. However, it is energy exhausting. So it comes down to, ultimately, for me, I'll bring it back to my experience, having done all of those overs, over drinking, overworking, overcompensating. What is my intention? And my intention now is to live a very peaceful life and to live a happy, peaceful existence. And that comes beyond any material success, any career, any of those things. Letting go of the overs is a huge part of managing your energy. Because when you are over-giving, let's take over-giving as an example. You're not giving because you want to. You're not giving freely. You're giving because you feel that if you don't, something bad will happen. So now, to me, it comes back to, yes, I'm giving, but if I'm not giving freely, if I'm giving because I feel I have to, if there's resentment attached to it, that's energy depleting. So, yes, my experience is letting go of the overs has completely transformed my relationship with my energy.
I think there's a very, very important point there, Sarah, that is that we are so busy expecting expectations from others, and that we can never fulfill, because more often than not, they just don't exist. So how to fulfill something that doesn't even exist? And that most of these things, we are doing them to ourselves. But since we blame exterior factors, we expect the solution to come from outside. And we have to understand that we are doing this to ourselves. So we are the only ones who actually can be the solution to that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and also recognizing it. So if there was an AA club for workaholics, I would definitely have been a member of that for many, 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 many years.
I think there is.
So I should have joined that. Okay, I'm a workaholic. I can control it now. No, but
I don't have time. I just have 5 minutes, then I have to jump off.
But I think it's a really good example because I think everybody in some or to some extent can see that. So it's just a question. I would like to pop that question to everybody who's listening about, so where are your overs? Where can you see that you overcompensate, overgive, etc.? Because I think also if we are empaths, we feel it could be the email. If I don't respond to that colleague in the US can't get her job done today or her work day. So I have to do that, even though it's 9 o'clock my time. I've been working globally, so I know that really about the time zones. So I am ruining other people's potential of making their job. So I can't bear that. So I have to do it. So all these excuses, and I think that is also a reflection of how we live today. On demand. So that's a different subject, but everything is on demand. So to, how do you say, allow yourself to be offline for an hour or two. Is that legal? Wow. Can you do that, Alex? You said about the unfocused breaks, right? So am I allowed to not be online for an hour during workday? Oh my God, is that legal? So, yeah.
Well, I've people are starting to get to know me with tech-free days. I call them tech-free days or tech-free time. And it's like, even the TV, like, no, you can't watch TV, because we're given this story that watching TV is relaxing. Actually, it's not. It can be just as distracting. It can be just as stimulating. It's information that, do we actually really need? Do I need to watch this drama that's full of issues and stuff? So, tech-free time, I can't stress it enough. Sort of the first few hours, I do feel a bit like, some days I'm kind of like, oh, right, well, I'm like, wow, I really needed this detox today. But then after a couple of hours, I'm like, yeah, I'm good with the tech-free. And then I'm like, oh, can I try it tomorrow as well? And you almost get, and that's the funny thing, you almost, when you get to a point of meeting your needs, once you know what they are, whether it's just that quiet time on your own, whether it's going for a walk on your own, whatever it is, you start getting like addicted to that. You start getting addicted to like, oh, do you know what? I haven't done my 20-minute walk today. I just need to do my 20-minute walk. Or actually, I haven't sat and just had my cup of tea in the garden today. So I really want to just spend 10 minutes drinking my cup of tea, because we know what it's going to do for us. So yeah, tech-free days. And I love that, Sarah, you talked about a nap after lunch, because that's what I do as well. I try and do 30 minutes, 45 minutes, meditation, nap, whatever it is. And just that deep relaxation in the middle of the day is transformative. And and then my energy just picks up for the afternoon. But like we were saying, a lot of this stuff isn't just for HSPs. It's for anybody. And there's now proof that loads of Olympic people, they actually take naps in the day now. I mean, they might have done it for a few years, but they take they are saying scientifically 30 minutes a day. Literally every human should take half an hour every day, whether you're HSP, non-HSP, it doesn't matter at all. And for me, my symptoms, when I realized, doing this work and focusing what I needed to do to balance, was I would always suffer with brain fog, just general fatigue, and insomnia, anxiety and depression. They were always my sort of friends for a while, particularly anxiety and insomnia. So if I know, we were saying about, men or like you, Rikke, like you're working through the day, and I've done that as well with this high energy. If I feel really good about what I'm doing that day and everything's just making me buzz, if I don't switch off at a certain time come the evening, I need even longer to process, because I haven't given myself any processing time, that housekeeping time. So then I take ages to go to sleep, and then my sleep's really bad with loads of dreams because there's too much going on. And there was another point I was going to say, but that's completely gone from my mind. Anyway, yeah, it's gone from my mind.
I think this is a very crucial point, that you don't necessarily feel that you need the break. So it's so even when you are on the high energy, you have to have a structure for yourself. As you said, otherwise all these things will come. So that's crucial.
And like you said, I actually have to sometimes put an alarm on, because if I'm really enjoying what I'm doing, or it's a very intense, whatever I'm writing, or I don't know, doing, I know, right, I've got to have a break in 2 hours. So I will put an alarm on, and it's like, you've got to stop. And the amount of times I press snooze to carry on, terrible. But no, and then I'm like, no, you've got to stop. And the anxiety one's a big one, because I know, again, HSPs, you know, anxiety is very common with us. And if I start feeling anxious in the day or the next day, I'm sort of, that's a warning sign for me. Feeling anxious is one of my warning signs, as if to say, right, yeah, you've cooked your system, you've overdone it, and you need to just bring it back, and just do a little less in the next day, or maybe do some cancellations. So like this week's a typical week. I've had a busy couple of weeks. October's not good for me anyway, because we have these cycles each year. I won't go into cycles because we have so many cycles as a human, but October isn't a good month for me. So I've overdone it, and I've booked to see somebody on Wednesday morning, and I thought, no, I need to take that out. I need to just say to them, look, can I put it back to next week? And it's like, where can I in my week just take back some time for me? Even if I end up doing a bit of solo work, it's just that interaction with another person is really, really draining for us, more so. So it's just taking back snippets of time when you think you need it.
I actually want to add to that, because most people, when you ask them, again, we pick up the phone and you ask them, so can you do Monday at 9 o'clock? You open your calendar, you look at 9 o'clock, it's free. But what you should do, that's really a good tip for everybody, is whenever you ask something, you have to open the week calendar and then look if that time slot on Monday, which is available, and maybe it has lots of time, but you have to look at the full week to answer whether this is a good thing to do for you and how demanding that is. So it might sound silly, and as a former workaholic, I can just say it works. It really works.
No, but you've made a really good point, because it took me a while to do that, because I would do the day thing. And then these days, I really do have to, you know, every now and then I slip up. But, you know, most of the time I've really got to look at the week. And it's like, well, if I give them that, well, when am I going to take back? So you're right. It is about looking at the week, not the day. Yeah, really good point.
Alex, let's hear. Do you have any additional for this?
Yes, well, I like to recommend my clients to establish a form of like a semaphore light system. And usually when they reach overwhelm, so the red light, it's because they fried a few yellow lights on their way and didn't see them. So what I recommend them, for example, is to have a sort of a journal and to reflect the day in the evening to see when they have gone into overwhelm and which signs they have overlooked. And then to note these signs, and then to learn to see the yellow lights, and next time to try to stop at these yellow lights instead of going until red.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that. Because
there's sorry. I was just on to that point. Technology is onto us as well on all of this. So I use this. I'm not get any commission for this or anything, but this has literally changed my life. It's an Aura ring, and this is just a ring you wear on your finger, charge every 4 days, and it tells me everything: sleep, stress levels, how much time I'm in stress zone, how much time I'm in relaxed. Every bit of data that I need to optimize my life can be found with this ring. And I've had it for about 18 months now. And so you get month data, year data. And the latest tool that they've added is stress. So it will pick up variable heart rates and temperature, and it will say, at this point in your day, you were experiencing higher stress levels. What was happening? So it prompts you, and it prompts you to stop as well. So it does it gives you all the things that we're talking about in an app. And yes, you do have to check your phone, but it will say to you, turn your phone off. You check your phone, it tells you to turn it off. So I have found it to be really helpful because power is obviously data is power. And it has really educated me on my own unique patterns. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
So we really need to establish some form of feedback loop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love also, Alex, what you said about this, that we don't see the yellow lights and we become so, it's like when, I'm sure you do that with your clients, if you do kind of a grounding short thing, even a minute or two, just ground them in a chair or wherever you are walking. When they go down in the body and say, oh, I'm actually tired, I have a headache, and now I feel the headache. So they had it already, but they didn't recognize it because you're so used to just, overseeing the yellow lights. So I think it's so important that each of us learn, what are my signs of overwhelm? What are the body signals? Because we know when we are nervous, right? We know the signs for that. But do we know the signs for overwhelm? So like it could be cravings, it could be anything. But whatever signs can help you, because if you're up here, either or you're very low, so very, very tired, or very high, you won't maybe feel it in the same way. So we have to train these patterns and to actually learn to navigate, like this we all talk about here, how to navigate as an HSP. When you learn to navigate your energy levels, this is really, really, really beneficial in all areas of your life. It's not just work or just off time, but it's in general. When we learn to listen, pay attention, and see how we can change our patterns. And we have to start sometimes with the baby steps. So if you want to give one final tip or repeat a tip or trick, then please let me hear so we can get them over.
Yeah, very short one. I think you said it. The word is mindfulness. So some grounding mindfulness exercise through the day, just some 2-minute thing, some short body scan, just to check in, just to sample your current emotional and energy state is very good.
Yeah.
Mm. I guess for me, I'm going to jump in with the word no, and that sometimes if we're asked something, and this is a muscle, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long while to use this word. But whether it's work, whether it's personal, I'm just thinking, Christmas is a little bit way away, but I don't know, just Christmas has popped into my head of this, quite often we're asked things from family members, from friends, from colleagues, whoever it is. And initially, sometimes, you'll get that initial, yeah, I really want to do that. Yeah, I'll be there. But if you've got that sort of hesitancy, for me anyway, and I think with HSPs and non-HSPs, is it's good to just go, actually, I'm not going to make a decision now. Can I get back to you on that? And that really, really helps with your energy, because then you can go away, look at the diary. Again, like we said, look at the week, look at the month. And it's really good to just not like jump in, because we do, like we were saying about the giving and the giving and the giving. And it is good to learn to just say, no, hang on, can I get back to you on that? That's been really, really helpful for me, and just managing my energy rather than saying yes, because it's automatic, just say yes, I'll people please everybody and I'll give, and then later on you go, oh no, I've overdone it and I'm tired and I'm gonna have to let people down. It's always better just to sort of say, no, can I get back to you on that? Something like that would be really helpful. It definitely worked for me.
It was a very successful ad campaign. Just say no. Do you remember that? But yeah, I think that's a really, really great tip. My tip would be to write down when your signs of being hyper aroused, so stressed and anxious, and hypo aroused, being depleted and down and depressed. And then your signs of we're in what we call the window of tolerance in my line of work, where people are in a state of calm, control. They're not, underperforming or overperforming. They're just in flow, if people know that word. Try and get very clear about how those three parts of your life feel. And then the skill is noticing when you're not in flow. And at what point what is your tipping point? And this comes down to, noticing the orange lights, being conscious of what they are. But the tip is write this stuff down. Don't just think about it. Write it down and pay attention. I do it with this now, the Aura Ring. But if you're not up for that, you can get a pen and paper and start to really pay attention to those three zones.
And pen and paper is mindful as well. Handwriting, that's an important thing. Thank you, guys. I'll add one tip that if anybody knows about fear of missing out or afraid of letting people down, I would really, really also say using these tips to feel, to dare to allow to say no, to dare to feel your own feelings, bodies, and respond to that. The inner state of you will tell you, now it's too much, too little. And as Sarah said, this window of tolerance, really get to know that. So dare to fear, to miss out, dare to say no and see what happens. Usually nothing, or people will get used to that. And you'll really, do something really, really good for you. So thank you guys for now and look forward to see you next time.